Okay, so today this is the last class. One of the questions that will coming from the array. I will discuss this particular questions and then mm, mm, then uh, I just tell you that what are the approximate uh, questions that may come, right? So first you already know about the array. That means this is a collection of similar type of element, and for the array element the memory will be allocated in a contiguous manner. That means, say, if an array is given like that, that means A 0 to 9, and the elements are 10, 20 to 100, this 0 is the lower bound and this is the upper bound. That means this is the index. That means this one is the lower bound index that will be started from 0, and this one is the upper bound that will be up to 9. And say arbitrary elements are inserted, and if we take that integer will take 2 bytes, then this is 100, next is 102, next is 104, it goes on like that. So if we want to find the location, that means I want to find the locations number A8. So what is the formula that that is the base address. That means this one is the base address, plus this one is the index. That means if I say that value is I, that means I minus the lower bound multiplied by the size of the data. That means size of the data, and that's why the answer should be like that. Okay, so in that case, so you will find that the answer is like that. That means this one is the address of the location A8. And now the thing is that, but in data structure in C actually, you can say the lower bound that always starts from, always you can say starts from 0, but in other language you can denote it as per your wish. So in data structure actually they may be given like the questions. That means what they give, an array is given like that. That means the starting location is 24 and the upper bound that is 900, and the base address is given like that, size of the each element that is given. So you have to find the address of the location 789. So what is the formula? This one is the base address plus the location number I minus lower bound multiplied by the size of the each element, right? So 6500, that one is the base address. This is the ith value, minus 24 is nothing but the lower bound multiplied by the 6. So if you do that, the answer is 11,090. So that is the way by which you can solve the issue, right? So the thing is that in that particular case it should be like that. So now if they may be given that the index may be negative also, right? That means say the index is given like that, it will be started from the minus 67 to plus 750, right? So the base address is 8500. Size of the each element if we take as a 9 byte, then if we want to find the particular locations, then what should be the value that you need to found. That means the formula is like the base address, if this is ith locations, I minus lower bound and multiplied by the size of the each element, right? So what should be the base address? Base address is 8500, that is given. That means 8500. The value of I, that means you have to find the locations of the 678. That means 678. The lower bound, that is minus 67. That means minus of minus 67, and that would be the size of the each element, that is equals to 9 bytes. So if you do that, that means 678 plus 67 multiplied by 9, and that will give you 15,205. This is how you can find the address for one dimensions, right? That is a one dimensional array. So if we do with the two dimension array, what we know that in case of two dimensions array, the array should be stored in two different way. I already told you in the class that the one is the way that is the row major order and another way that is the column major order. That means C language by default that will follow the row major order. If it is not given in the questions paper, then you should always take as a row major order. So the question should be given like that, or it may be given like that. That means you can say 1, 15, comma, minus 7 to 7. That means you can take, because that means also it can be written in that particular format, or either it can be written in that particular format. That means this is the index like that, and you know this is the number of rows and number of columns. So because in two dimension, how can you write? Like you can write I j, where I is the number of rows and j is the number of columns. So the index is like that. This one is the lower bound 1, this 4 is the upper bound 1, and this one is the, this is a dot dot dot, and you can say this one is the lower bound 2 and this is the upper bound 2. How can you find the number of rows and the number of columns? Number of rows is nothing but the upper bound 1 minus lower bound 1 plus 1. Number of columns is upper bound 2 minus lower bound 2 plus 1. That is the formula that we have to use to find the number of rows and the number of columns, right? And the thing is that actually in 2D it should be like that. That means A1, 1, A1, 2, A1, 3, it should be like that. That means if we want to find the number of rows, you just find the upper bound is 4, lower bound is 1 and plus 1. That means the number of rows is 4. A number of columns, if you want to find upper bound 2, that means you can say that one is, it may be not negative. This is 1 to 5, say this is not negative. So this is a 5 minus lower bound 2 plus 1. That means you can say that one is a 5. That means there are 4 rows and 5 columns. You say 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and you can say 1 column, 2 column, 3, 4, 5. And say the starting index is from 1. So I just write it like that: A11, A12, A13, A14, A15. Now similarly A21, A22, that. But actually in memory it should not be stored like that, right? So in memory it should be stored, you can say it should be stored in a different way, and that's why this is called, one of the way is called row major order and one of the way is column major order. You can say if we store row wise, that means you have to store first A11, then A12, then 1 3, and A14, A15, and then A21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and then 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and like that, right? And in that way, that is called the row major order. That means if we want to find the location of 4 3, what is the formula? This is nothing but the base address. You can say this is the location, that means if they say this is I and this is j, that means this is I minus lower bound 1 multiplied by the number of columns, you can find it previously, and plus this is nothing but j minus lower bound 2, and this is the multiplied with the data type. That means you can say this is 100, this I is, you can say 4 minus 1, that is equals to 3. Number of columns that we already found, you can say that is a 5. You are multiplied with the 5, and plus this is nothing but 3 minus 1, that is 2, multiplied by 2, and that will give you 134. That is the corresponding answer. That is nothing but 134, right? So you can say if you want to find 3 4 locations, then you are easily found by this thing. That means the first thing that you have to do, that is nothing but, if the general formula, that means if it is given like that, if we use the row major order, you have to use this particular formula. That means say in the question paper it is given, say 4 to, you can say 15, and minus 7 to 7, right? And say The starting address means base address. You can say either you can say the starting address, or you can say the base address that is given in the questions paper, say 500, and say the size of each, you can say, memory cell. Memory cell means size, that is equals to 4. You have to find the location of 85 using row major order. It is given such that you can say that would be given as a row major order. So by using this row major order, you can say, how can you use the formula? That means in that case A is 85, that means this I is 8, J is 5. Here the base address that is given as a 5, and you can say I, and I is nothing but, you can say in that particular case I is 8 minus lower bound, that means this is nothing but the lower bound 1, upper bound 1, lower bound 2, upper bound 2. So the lower bound 1, that means that one is a 4, multiplied by number of columns, that means upper bound 2 minus lower bound 2 means plus 1. This is because this is a minus 7. So, and the thing is that plus this j is 5 minus lower bound 2. The lower bound 2 is nothing but minus 7, that means plus 7, and that should be multiplied with the size of the data. That means if you calculate it, that is the answer. That is nothing but the answer. So now tell me what should be the result. That means whether you can find it or not. That means you have to find the location of this. The array is given like that, two dimensional array, base address is given like that, size of the each element that is given as a 8 byte. So just try it, that whether you can find the particular location. That means you have to find the location of A 697 and 896, that you have to find, right? So please just just try a little bit and then just say me that whether you can find the same answer or not, right? Because in your questions paper one question is given like that, that means a two dimensional array is given, the starting address that is also given, the size of the memory cell, that means the size of the data type, that is also given. You have to find the locations by using row major order.
Sir,
Yes.
so I don't understand one part. When we are declaring like minus 97 to 768,
Yeah.
these are like the indexes in the
Yeah.
array, right?
Yeah. These are the indexes in the array.
So so then it will allocate a memory like 97 bytes
No, no,
behind
no.
the
No, no, no,
array
no,
point.
no, 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 no. This is the 97. That is means this is nothing but the representations, right? In C, you cannot represent like that, but in several languages like Python, in Python you can give you lower bound as per your wish. That doesn't mean that the memory location should be negative, because the memory location is never be negative. This is nothing but the representation. That means it will, you are
Okay,
shifting the curve, right? Like that, like unsigned sign, you are shifting the curve. There is nothing negative is stored like that. Okay,
so it will not have any effect on like how
nothing.
the array is called. Okay,
No, nothing.
okay, and we cannot do this in C.
Of course, you cannot, because in C it's always start from 0, right? But
Okay,
in other language that may happen, you can give your index, your starting index in Python, and also in other language that is also valid. Okay,
okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. So if you do that, I think at least you should try at least once, because in your examinations you will find these questions. Only the data part that are different, but you will find that particular questions, and it carries, I think, 5 marks, right? So it will carry 5 marks, and I think you can do it in a easy way. You just practice, at least you take 5 minutes and tell me the answer of this particular questions, because you need to practice at least once by in your hand. So just do it and take 5 minutes and tell me the answer. What is the answer of the second question? The first question's answer is already been written. At least you should try. What should be the answer?
Sir, one second.
Okay.
Sir, 2851,760.
2851760. That is correct, right? So the answer is 2851760. So this is the one questions that may you don't need to go through the column major order. I will send the PDF. If you are interested, then you can go the column major order. But in questions, I am just giving you questions from the row major order, right? So you need not to go through the you can say the column major order, right? So this the thing that I want to tell you, that means the thing that you need to know, because one questions that will coming from this. Now if I discuss the questions, that is my suggestions. That means other than that, there may be the questions from the other part. In my part, you can go through this particular thing. I think that thing is also been helpful. So this one you can say the basic, you can say computer science and engineering. So I am first discuss with the group A. I am not written here the group A, whatever be the thing. So in group A, I cite three questions, right? That means the first questions that will come from the output from the printf and scanf. Output given by printf and scanf. You already know in the, you can say in the class, I think I do it. That means what should be the output? The printf will given you the number of you know characters in the integer form, and scanf will give you the number of successful output. So if I am given input something, what should be the output? That scanf will give. This one is the first questions. Second questions is nothing but I am giving some data, right? That means if I give a 1 and minus minus say b has some value, say b has some value 7 or something. So what should be the output? What should be the data should be different, but the thing is same, right? And the third questions that I given from the macro, I just discussed one thing. What do you mean by the data should be different? That means, say, first you should give me the answer of this, then I am discussing, say, a given like that, say AB, A multiplied by B, and say this is a voidment and integer x is equals to 2, say y equals to, say, 10, and say printf, say %d, and I'm calling this prod with x minus 5y plus 2. So what should be the answer? First tell me what should be the answer, then I am discussing it. Whoever knows that particular thing, just tell me what should be the answer of this particular question. That is the third question that I am given as a
So minus 36.
minus
So minus
36.
36. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
let's see minus 36 or not. A star B, that means
স্যার
x
প্রোডাক্ট দিয়েছেন a মাল্টিপ্লাই b আর স্যার মানে ভ্যালু দিচ্ছেন x আর y
yeah, x and y value are given. That means
স্যার আর মাল্টিপ্লাই করব a আর b এর
yes, that is given as a multiplied by b.
মানে মানে স্যার a কি স্যার ওই x মাইনাস 5
A is x minus 5, right?
ও স্যার সাইন আনসাইন কিছু বলা নেই
No.
তাহলে তো স্যার মাইনাস 35 মাইনাস 36ই হচ্ছে
Minus 36 হচ্ছে, right? But আমার answer minus 46 বেরোচ্ছে, right? দেখো,
স্যার এটা কি রকম হলো
just reason is that, শোনো, মাইকটা অফ করে আমি বলছি. The thing is, this is given. What do you mean by macro? Macro is nothing but it will substitute the value. That means whenever it will get prod a comma b, it will substitute the thing with a multiplied b, right? So what you are calling? You are calling x minus 5 and y plus 2. So what they did? They just do x minus 5 multiplied by y plus 2, and then they substitute this 2 and 10. That means what will happen? 2 minus 5 multiplied by the value of y is 10 plus 2. That means it is not added, right? It will substitute the thing. Then what will happen? You have to apply the normal rule and the multiplication that will do first. So that means 2 minus this 5 multiplied by 10, that means a 50 plus 2. So the rest of the thing that will give you 46 minus. Is it clear? That means whenever a macro is given, first you just substitute the value. Don't do like that. That means 2 minus 5, you are doing like that. So this is a minus 3 and you are doing 10 plus 2, that means that is a 12. So you just did 24 multiplied by minus 3, whatever be the thing. Don't do like that, right? First you are just substituting the value and then you are just apply the rule, because the multiplication that will first and then the rest of the thing. So it is clear?
Yes.
Okay, so this
Yes, sir.
question, that means only the data will be different. The same questions type that will come. This is the three questions that I said, and the thing is that, and in the group, you can say, if we talk about the group B, in group B, I can give you the suggestions, like you can say whether you can do it or not, that is up to you. That means this is a program to, but this array of pointers that are important. That means what do you mean by array of pointer? Examples that are important, right? That particular part is very much important. That what do you mean by dynamic memory allocations, and write down the differences between calloc, malloc, and also you can say that is free, right? There are three things. That means what is dynamic memory allocations, and write the differences. You can say between malloc, calloc and free, and you should give with an example and just do it with an example, right? So that is also important, while and do while, compiler and difference between the interpreter. And you can do this particular questions, you can say that would be for the, you can say 10 marks. So like convert decimal to binary, GCD, like the difference between break and continue, difference between structure and union, that is also very much important, that is also coming in your class tests. I think that check as a string as a palindrome, you can say this pattern you should do, or another pattern that we can try like G, F, E, D, C, B, A, or F, E, D, C, B, A, that means E, D, C, B, A. This pattern should be goes on like that, right? You should try. This is also important thing that may ask in your questions paper, right? So these are the thing that you uh, need to do. What is the values written by the printf scanf? What is mean by call by value and call by reference? In Fibonacci numbers using recursions, that is not needed. If you have a tail recursion, then you can go through this. That is also not needed. A resultant matrix, sort the number, bubble sort, and these are the things that you can go with. So, and another thing that you should do, one is the, what do you mean by pointer to pointer? Always give some example associated with the thing. That is very much easy, whatever example that you can shoot. So, or you should do write down the, you can say steps how a C program is being executed. That means you know .c file, then .asm file, then .o file, then .exe file. What are the steps, right, that you need to mention, and differences between linear and non-linear, linear and non-linear data structure. That means, what do you mean by linear? Like a array, right? Linear means array or linked list. These are the linear stack queue, whereas in non-linear there are tree, graphs.
Sir, will you share this file?
Yeah, of course. I will share the site, I will record it, I will upload in YouTube, no issues, right? So these are the things that is very much important, what I wrote in through the blue letter, and what are the important things that I mentioned that you should do at least. I think you will get all the things, and one thing that you should do like that, the programs that you need to study, one thing that is like a uh, even or odd, even or odd by bitwise operator, by bitwise operator, by using bitwise operator. And also you should go some precedence. What do you mean by precedence? And associativity in C. Precedence means which operator has different precedent, not right go through the whole table. You should just give me what do you mean by precedence. You should give 3 or 4 operators. And associativity, that means some operator has associativity right to left and from left to right. You just mean what is the meaning of precedence, what is the meaning of associativity, with some examples, with some examples. I think these are the questions that will you will face in the semesters, and I think the first part, 3 questions from the you have to answer 5 questions from the group A. The 3 questions, each questions will carry 2 marks. That means the group A. In group B, uh, you have to answer 6 questions. Each questions carry 5 marks. And in group C, you have to answer 3 questions, and each questions will carry 10 marks, right? So I just said 3 questions signed from the group A, from group B 3 questions, and group C 2 questions, right? And I'm giving you the suggestions. You can go through the suggestions. I think that will be helpful, and whatever I mentions as an important thing, I think you will face in the questions paper. So any questions? You just tell me.
স্যার,
Yes.
তো গ্রুপের 2 নম্বর কোয়েশ্চেনটা একবার বলে দিন, মানে একটু।
2 number questions, what I'm saying, that if a value is given like that and there is a logical and say b has given as a -7, then you have to give minus minus b. So what should be the output of this particular questions? That means I'm not giving you the answer. You just see a equals to 1 and you are doing and with some value, then what should be the output? That you need to find. Okay.
ওকে স্যার।
So I think if you have any questions, then you can ask. Otherwise, I will share the slides and as well as the video. You should go through this particular thing, whatever I mentioned as an important, that are you should go through this, right?
স্যার
Yes.
স্যার
কিছু ডাউট থাকলে আপনাকে পার্সোনালি মেসেজ করে দিলে আপনি একবার অডিও বা কিছু একটা দিয়ে বুঝিয়ে দেবেন আমাদেরকে হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে, পার্সোনালি
একদম
মেসেজ করলে আপনাকে।
একদম। আর কালকে আমি
ঠিক
কলেজে
আছে,
থাকবো,
ঠিক আছে।
সো তুমি আমাদের অডিও পাঠিয়ে দেবো, বিকজ এখন তো আর সময় নেই। এবং
হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ স্যার।
তুমি একটা ধরো কোয়েশ্চেন্স ডাউট হলে ইউ জাস্ট সেন্ড মি ইন হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ, I will clarify you through